right, welcome to this episode of Trojan Poetry. We are in the thick of summer.
Right.
Today is actually Franz Kafka's birthday. July
Everybody
3rd.
knows that.
Right.
Everybody knows that, of
Right.
course.
So happy birthday, Franz Kafka. Today I've picked the poem, Mike has not read it, and it is called Everything That Ever Was by Tracy K. Smith, and we'll talk about her in just a moment, but here's the poem. Like a wide wake, rippling infinitely into the distance, everything that ever was still is, somewhere, floating near the surface, nursing its hunger for you and me and the now we've named and made a place of. Like groundswell, sometimes it surges up, claiming a little piece of where we stand. Like the wind the rains ride in on, it sweeps across the leaves, pushing in past the windows we didn't slam quickly enough. Dark water it will take days to drain. It surprised us last night in my sleep, brought food, a gift, stood squarely there between us while your eyes danced toward mine, and my hands sat working a thread in my lap. Up close, it was so thin, and when finally you reached for me, it backed away, bereft, but not vanquished. Today, whatever it was seems slight, a trail of cloud rising up like smoke, and the trees that watch as I write sway in the breeze, as if all that stirs under the soil is a little tickle of knowledge the great blind roots will tease through and push eventually past. All right, so that is Everything That Ever Was by Tracy K. Smith, who recently was named the United States Poet Laureate.
You go, Tracy.
Yeah, so she's going to start in 2008, the fall of this year coming. She won the Pulitzer Prize in 2011 for this, her third book. It is called Life on Mars, and that's where this poem comes from. And this, she was born in 1972. So, a lot to throw at you, as usual.
Mm-hmm, right.
And what did you think? Or do you want
Well, yeah, this one, you know, as you were reading that first line, the thing that tripped me up was I thought you said like a wide lake, or I thought that's how the line read. And then I realized it was like a wide wake, rippling into the distance. And so I got this menacing image at the beginning of the poem of something right under the water coming towards you that you can't quite see, you know, like Jaws-esque or a crocodile. And I saw some big images changing here. There's like a water image in the first 3 or 4 stanzas. Then it goes to a wind kind of an image, and they're inside speaking to each other, or looking at each other, I guess. They don't necessarily speak. There is no speech here. And then the last section, it goes into this idea of the trees and the roots reaching under the ground. So it seems like when she says, and when finally you reached for me, it backed away, bereft but not vanquished. That really stood out to me because that seems to be the speaker's motivation. She wants this other person in the room to reach for her, because it's like, finally, you know, I've been waiting for this moment. You reached for me. It, whatever this thing is between them, backed away, but it's not done yet, right?
Yeah.
It might come back later on. So that kind of freaked me out. You know, it's like, what is this thing between them,
Yeah.
and why can't they get rid of it? Why does she feel like it's going to keep coming back? And then those last lines were really great image here. Under the soil is a little tickle of knowledge. The great blind roots will tease through and push eventually past. So I felt positive at the end there that they were going to push past whatever this thing is between them, hopefully. How did you read this?
Well, I think I was struggling with some of the same questions, and then I had to go back to the title, Everything That Ever Was, and I began to think about the pronoun it, right? And it keeps saying it does this, it does this, it does this, and I had to refer the pronoun back to the everything that ever was, like the cosmos. And then I thought about the book cover and Life on Mars and this kind of cosmic scope, right? And I think, I guess I read the first 2 lines a little bit differently than Mike did, in that I thought, because it says like a wide wake rippling infinitely into the distance, right? Everything that ever was. So everything, like the entire cosmos is rippling and going away, right?
From the speaker.
It's going into the distance, that idea of expansion of the universe, right? Everything keeps getting further and further apart, but somewhere it's still like there, right? There's always that presence of everything that ever was. Like our entire lives are just saturated inescapably with this thing, because then it does come back, right? I think at the beginning of the poem it's going away,
Right.
but then in the fourth stanza, like groundswell, sometimes it surges up, claiming a little piece of where we stand. Like, we think we've got a place, but then everything else comes and, like, intrudes.
Yeah.
Right, so it is this kind of creepy...
swells up around us.
Right.
Well, like you said with the pronoun there, as I'm looking for at every verb or every moment the it comes up, it's hunger, it surges
Right.
up, it sweeps, it surprises us, right? So all
And
of
that's
those
it.
things are
It's
startling,
hungry,
right? Yeah,
right?
it's hunger. It's hunger for you and me.
It's hunger for you and me, and the now we've named and made a place of. So, like, we've made a now, we've made a place, but everything is going to intrude on it. Mm-hmm. And that's, like, the cosmos is big, right?
Yeah.
And that idea of being really small and this infinitely big thing constantly trying to work its way into your life.
Yeah, into
Right.
your tiny, small little room that you're sitting in.
That you're trying to claim.
Yeah.
Right, that you're trying to, because it said, it surges up claiming a little piece of where we stand, like the wind, right? It comes in through the windows. And then that idea of dark water, it will take days to drain. I mean, that's a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, that's an overwhelming
Yeah.
situation and an unpleasant situation. And then I guess the last half, I'm thinking, and this could be wrong, I believe part of the book, I haven't read the whole book, is about part of the book is about the loss of her father. So when I began to look at the imagery in the last part, they're asleep in a room, but she's working a thread in her lap. It's almost like the father is in bed, ill, and she's kind of watching over him, kind of maybe sewing or knitting or something with thread, and he looks up, and up close it was so thin, right? The everything for a moment seems thin,
Like she can break through it. And,
right?
Yeah.
And when the father or whoever this is reaches for her or the narrator, it backs up, right? And it's sad to back up, but it's not gone forever. It's gonna keep coming, but for a moment, right, they're able to push it away.
Maybe the it is death itself then. If it's about the father.
Yeah.
Because, maybe it's the idea, it's hunger for you and me. It surges up, claiming a little piece of where we stand, right? Dark water. So the idea of death is always around us. It's floating around us. And with her father, I guess maybe if he is sitting there sick, finally you reach for me. She's waiting for a sign that he's still in there. He's still okay. And then it backed away. So his death or his fate, backed away. I always think, whenever I see thread, I always think of fate,
Oh yeah.
like the threads of fate
Yeah.
that are going to be cut. And so she's working the thread to keep him alive, maybe, or waiting for that moment. That's really interesting. See, there you go. There's some biographical information that
I'm
changed.
pretty
Well,
sure.
for me,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you say that does
And even
change
if it's
the
not-
feeling of this.
Right, and even if it's not from the author, I think we could still read that in.
Yeah.
Right, even if it's not a biographical element.
Yes.
Right, I think there's some evidence there for that.
Yeah.
And then that interesting shift to the trees, and the idea that, because you're right, I mean, it almost did seem optimistic at the end, where the trees are being tickled by the knowledge the great blind roots will tease through and eventually eventually past. Does seem like there's going to be maybe some comfort.
Some life, right? The
Some
roots
life,
are
right.
growing through and continuing life.
Right.
And why are they blind too? The great blind roots. So it's kind of like that idea of the cosmos. It's not a sentient thing. It just is.
Right.
So life itself will continue.
Well, and the roots are in the dark, right? Literally
Yeah, I guess that's true.
underground.
Right.
Right. So they're
So
just
there is
doing what
nothing
they
to see,
do,
yeah.
trying to push past the knowledge of the infinity. Right. That's where I
Of
kind
death,
of
of the cosmos, like you said. And the cover of the book with that nursery of stars there, that's interesting.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
that's-
and there's a lot of stuff about space in there and the cosmos, and David Bowie is referenced a few times and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, and again, we're just starting the conversation. We obviously don't think we have.
There's a lot left.
Nailed
I mean, there
down.
are so many ways you could look into this one.
Yeah, and one thing that you can't see unless you read it is the structure is 2 lines and then 3 lines and then 2 lines and then 3 lines, almost like a rippling I thought.
Yeah, rippling
Right.
effect.
And I tried to begin to make sense of, is there some difference between the 2 lines and the 3 lines? Like somehow is there an ebb and flow of what's going on within them? I couldn't tease that out in the little time I spent trying to think through that, but that would be something interesting to look at, right?
Yeah, well, as I'm reading just the 2-line stanzas together, those are almost a separate poem in and of themselves. You know, you could almost link those together. I don't know necessarily yet. I'd have to reread
Yeah.
and see if that's the case. But
All right, so some questions. What about the form? What do you think about that? Do you think that the end is hopeful or has some element of positivity, or are we just completely misreading it?
right. Well, thanks for watching. Please join the conversation in the comments on YouTube or on Twitter at Trojan Poetry DGN. Also, check out our website at trojanpoetrydgn.blogspot.com.